Motion in your step.
Motivation in your heart.
Hello, and welcome to today's Motion and Motivation podcast.
We've put together a study guide for everyone. If you need it, you can grab it from the video description.
All right, diving in. Today, we're tackling a request that's been sitting on my desk since, 2016. You want the deep dive on Trump's election. Not just the what, but the why. And we're going full philosophy nerd for this one.
Buckle up, because we're unpacking some Alain Badiou.
Oh, yeah.
He's a French philosopher who's not afraid of a bold take, and his lectures after the 2016 election were fire.
Literally, I think some people spontaneously combusted from the hot takes.
Yeah.
But we're going beyond the surface here. We've got Badiou's 2 days after the election of Trump and 2 weeks after. Both fascinating reads. Our mission, to help you grasp Badiou's framework for understanding this whole political earthquake.
And trust me, once you see the world through Badiou's lens, it's hard to go back.
Okay, so first things first, Badiou doesn't pull any punches. He basically says capitalism won. Game over.
Right.
Not a shocker in itself, but he argues it's reached a point where most people can't even imagine an alternative.
It's like that there is no alternative line became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Badiou is saying global capitalism is so deeply rooted that it's practically become an unquestioned reality for most people.
And that's before we even get to Trump.
Yeah.
But it sets the stage for this feeling of, like, okay, if this is the game, what role am I even playing?
Which is where Badiou's breakdown of the contemporary subject comes in. He lays out these 4 categories, almost like character classes in a video game.
Right.
Which are totally relatable, right?
Oh, 100%. So you got your owners.
Yeah.
They're basically the final boss level, winning at life, while the rest of us are grinding for XP.
Then there's us, the worker consumers.
Yeah.
Stuck in that loop of working to buy things we probably don't need just to keep the system chugging along. I feel seen.
Right. And then it gets even more real. You've got the impoverished who are barely holding on, but Badiou says we're talking billions of people in this category, and that's where it starts to feel less like a game and more like a dystopian movie.
And then the nothing at all category, those completely abandoned by the system.
Wow.
No work, no safety net, no real place in this capitalist world. Badiou even suggests that capitalism might be reaching its limits in terms of being able to provide even the bare minimum for everyone.
Okay, so we're all playing this game, but the rules are rigged, and some people aren't even allowed on the playing field. It makes you wonder how sustainable this whole thing really is.
And that's just the economic picture. Hold on tight, because next, we're going to explore how Badiou connects this to the total meltdown of our political systems.
Okay, so we've got billions stuck in poverty, others left with nothing at all. Yeah, I'm starting to see how this economic reality spills over into a full-blown political crisis.
Exactly. Badiou argues that global capitalism doesn't just create winners and losers economically.
Right.
It throws the whole political game into chaos.
It's like our political systems were designed for a simpler board game.
Yeah.
But now we're playing 5D chess with half the pieces missing.
And that's where this whole left versus right thing gets really interesting.
Okay.
Badiou sees these 2 fundamental forces at play. On one hand, you've got the drive towards universalism and equality, think classic left-wing ideals.
Right.
On the other hand, there's the pull towards identity and hierarchy, which often falls in line with traditional right-wing thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
The age-old battle.
Yeah.
But it feels like lately those lines have gotten so blurry.
Yeah.
They might as well be drawn in crayon.
That blurriness is key to Badiou's argument.
Okay.
He says that for a democratic system like we have in the U.S. to function at all, there has to be some common ground, even between opposing sides.
So it's less about agreeing on everything and more about agreeing to disagree within certain boundaries.
Exactly. And the big no-no, the one thing everyone seems to agree you can't touch, is the fundamental structure of global capitalism itself.
It's like this invisible force field protecting the status quo.
Right.
No matter who's in power, the underlying system just keeps chugging along.
But here's the problem. When that system is failing, a huge chunk of the population and the political system is set up to protect that very system.
Right.
People start looking for other options,
Yeah.
even extreme ones.
And that's where someone like Trump enters the scene.
Exactly.
It's like all that frustration with the system, all that anger and anxiety about the future, it creates a vacuum. And suddenly you've got a reality TV star turned politician promising to drain the swamp and make America great again.
And Badiou argues that this is where things get really dangerous.
Okay.
He sees Trump as a symptom of this deeper crisis.
Okay.
A crisis of representation, a crisis of legitimacy, and ultimately a crisis of imagination.
A crisis of imagination. That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
What does he mean by that?
He means that we've become so accustomed to the existing system,
Right.
even as it fails us,
Yeah.
that we can't seem to imagine a viable alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And into that void steps a figure like Trump,
Right.
offering simplistic solutions and channeling people's legitimate grievances into something far more volatile and dangerous.
So if Trump is a symptom, what's the diagnosis? Is Badiou saying we're headed for some kind of neo-fascist nightmare?
He doesn't shy away from using the F word, that's for sure.
Okay.
But it's not about Trump himself.
Right.
It's about what he represents. This rise of what Badiou calls democratic fascism.
Oh, okay, democratic fascism.
Yeah.
That sounds like a contradiction in terms.
It does, doesn't it?
How does that even work?
That's what we're going to unpack next, because Badiou argues that this new form of fascism doesn't look like jackboots and military parades.
Okay.
It operates through the very structures of democratic societies,
Oh.
exploiting their weaknesses and turning them against themselves.
All right, I'm seriously concerned, but before we spiral into a full-blown existential crisis,
Sure.
does Badiou offer any hope, any way out of this mess?
He does, but it might not be the kind of solution most people are expecting.
Okay.
Let's just say it involves a pretty radical reimagining of how we organize ourselves as a society.
Okay, so we're teetering on the brink of democratic fascism, our political systems are a mess, and capitalism might be eating itself. You're saying Badiou actually offers a way out. Hit me with it.
He does, but it requires some seriously outside-the-box thinking.
Okay.
Remember when we talked about how capitalism has become this unquestioned reality?
Yeah,
Badiou wants us to question everything.
like really question it, or
Yeah.
just like make a vision board about a different world.
He wants us to fundamentally reimagine the way we organize society.
Okay.
And his starting point is a return to the core principles of communism.
Hold on. Return to communism.
Right.
Most people hear that and think breadlines and dictators.
Right.
How is Badiou different?
That's the knee-jerk reaction right now. But Badiou isn't talking about some Soviet-style regime.
Okay.
He's calling for a radical reinvention of the communist ideal
Okay.
based on 4 key principles.
All right, I'm listening.
Number 1, ditch the dogma of private property. Badiou argues that our obsession with individual ownership is a root cause of inequality. He proposes a system rooted in collectivism,
Okay.
where resources and the means of production are shared more equitably.
Okay. I can see how that would ruffle some feathers. It's like goodbye McMansions.
Right.
Hello communal gardens. What's next on Badiou's utopian to-do list?
He also wants to revolutionize the way we think about work.
Okay.
He calls for polymorphous work, essentially breaking down the rigid barriers between intellectual and manual labor.
So instead of being stuck on one career track,
Yeah.
you might be a teacher one day, a plumber the next,
Right.
and an artist on the weekends.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the value of all forms of labor and allowing individuals to contribute their skills and talents in a more fluid and fulfilling way.
That actually sounds kind of amazing. Maybe I'm just easily bored. What's principle number 3?
Badiou calls it concrete universalism. A mouthful, I know, but it's actually a really powerful idea. It's about embracing our shared humanity and striving for equality,
Okay.
while also respecting and valuing our differences.
So it's not about pretending everyone's the same,
Right.
but about making sure those differences don't create artificial barriers
Exactly.
to opportunity and justice.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our differences make us stronger, not weaker.
Okay.
And finally, Badiou's 4th principle challenges the very structure of the state itself. He advocates for free association,
Okay.
moving away from centralized power structures and towards a more decentralized democratic model.
So instead of top-down control, it's more about grassroots organizing,
Yeah.
community empowerment, that kind of thing.
Precisely. Badiou believes that by empowering communities to govern themselves and manage their own affairs, we can create a more just and equitable society.
Wow. Badiou doesn't mess around.
Nope.
He's basically asking us to rethink the entire game, not just how we play it.
He is, and he's the first to admit that these are just principles, not policy prescriptions.
Right.
He's not handing us a blueprint for utopia,
Right.
but he is offering a powerful framework for imagining a different kind of future.
It's almost like he's giving us the pieces of a puzzle and saying, Okay, now go figure out what you can build.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of Badiou's work.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to spoon-feed us answers.
Right.
He wants us to grapple with the complexities of our world and come up with our own solutions.
So as we navigate this strange new world, still grappling with the aftershocks of that 2016 election,
Yeah.
maybe Badiou's challenge is what we need most.
To think bigger.
To question everything and to dare to imagine a future radically different from the present.
Because the future, as they say, is unwritten.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to decide what kind of world we want to create.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. That way you won't miss any of our updates. Also, if you think this video could help others, please share it with them. Thanks for watching and for your support.